Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the full compilation of this only story that I actually enjoyed while it lasted. All of the 5 parts that consist of this series and a bonus content as usual wait for you. Although I really doubt that this would even come to be an hour long anyway. As usual, make sure to like, subscribe, hype the video, and comment here your ideas and thoughts about this comic and series in general perspective. Also, stay until the very ending to get the bonus content that extends this story a bit more. And without any further ado, let's go to the compilation.
Hello everybody, it's me, your favorite Pegasus, Valtteri here, and today we're here to see... Which one of you morons left the door open? We began this comic with Pinkie Pie asking what about the future from that point in time. As we see Fluttershy asking her what she meant, Applejack mentions that they were talking about Twilight's birthday just now. Pinkie then says that this is exactly the point, for this needs to be very special. After all, it's her first birthday since she became a princess, and Pinkie can't really allow it to be any ordinary party for such a special day. So after thinking on it, she realizes that she can think of anything. So she had to think outside the box, and came up with a brilliant idea. Time travel! Since Twilight's gonna live for so long, they're gonna be long gone by then. So why not travel to the future to her 1000th birthday? Heretic questions what about this party for this birthday? But Pinkie just says that it's not important. They're gonna be with Twilight on her birthday anyway. Fluttershy comments that they don't have a time machine, and as Pinkie tries to come up with a solution, we get to see some noises coming from the outside. And Pinkie comments on she having an idea, as the rest of the main 6 are wondering what's going on. Seeing the outside, we have a phone call box of Doctor Who's. Wait, Who's? Is that right? Yes? Yes it is. Dr. Who's is a former background character in the series made to reference Guess Who. He appeared here and there during some episodes of the series, always doing something random. I'm not really sure, but I guess that eventually he became so popular to the point of receiving a full episode I'm Not a Brony! Up to the next page we see another character, called Roseluck, peeking from the door and calling for Who's, saying that it seems they're back in the present time, calling this the end of their journey and asking what he was reading. No, I don't know how those 2 lines of dialogue connect together, but let's continue. Who says that the book is something he borrowed from ancient Equestria, called The Origins and Biological Characteristics of Alicorns. He gives a brief summary of what an alicorn is, saying that these species are ponies with the characteristics of all 3 most common kinds of ponies: Earth ponies, Pegasi, and unicorns, with the ability to manipulate psionic energy and an immortal lifespan in theory. If you think this is some kind of OC made by a 12-year-old because of how powerful those things look, I wouldn't blame you. But this is canon. I'm not even kidding. This is absolutely canon. You can look it up on the internet. Roseluck guides the Doctor intentions, asking if he wants to investigate the new princess. Hooves almost can't confirm before getting interrupted by Pinkie Pie, busting the door open, getting both Hooves and Roseluck to the ground in shock. Speaking of, they both question on how did she get in, to which she responds, saying that the door was open, as we see that the other main 5 are there as well. Roseluck apologizes, but Hooves say that it's not her fault. TARDIS let them in. Rose even wonders on why's that, to which Doc responds saying that he doesn't know either, and that will require some investigation. He says it as he invites the rest of the ponies to get in as well, which they do, getting surprised by what is that place. After introducing himself and Rose, he asks how they feel being inside TARDIS so far. They all had some different responses, but all of them are pretty in character. Doc comments with Rose that this is why he thinks ponies are boring. It's very hard to impress. Nothing ever seems to surprise. And then he directs his words to the main cast, asking what brought them there in the first place. Pinkie says that they're planning to travel 1000 years into the future to meet a future version of their friend on her birthday. Doc gets confused at first, asking for them to repeat. Harity then reinforces that they want to go to the future, the 1000th birthday of Twilight. Who's asks if she knows about it. And when Rainbow Dash asks what he said, he backs off and says that he strongly recommends against this. All of them ask for the reason for this, and Fluttershy questions if something awful is going to happen in the future. Dr. Who's then confirms saying that it's not exactly the same peaceful Equestria they know. They probably won't be in the mood for the party in there. And Twilight changed a lot during those 1000 years. She's different from what they are expecting, but certainly they shall be disappointed all the same. He finalizes asking if they are okay with this, to which they say that it's better if they don't. Of course they accept it, otherwise we wouldn't have a story here, would we? He even asks a second time, but they seem confident about it. He says that he has no choice then. That's actually not true. I mean, you're the one in the control of the machine here, so yes, I'm trying to find logic in My Little Pony fanfic. I do deserve a vacation, I guess. As we see them traveling, we got a brief dialogue between Pinkie and Harity, where Pinkie is asking what is Twilight up to in the future. But then we got a focus on Roseluck. She's thinking to herself, what is Doctor thinking? That until we get a scene of Applejack asking to talk to the Doctor for a minute. The Doctor accepts, as long as it's nothing difficult to answer. Applejack mentions that the thing they said before is bugging her since then, and asks if they know something about the future. The Doctor confirms, saying that he and Rose traveled to the distant future several times. Apple asks him to tell her about it, and how's Twilight doing in the future. He then starts to explain the story of what happened in the future. After the Age of Sun, the Age of Stars began, and Empress Twilight became the new ruler of Equestria. Since then, she was taking control of the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything else on the planet. She is known as a wise mare who knows all, a powerful wizard who has mastered every known spell, and a mighty warrior with a will of steel. Upon questions about that warrior part, asking if Twilight has become a warrior, but Doctor clarifies, saying that she got this title during her 973rd year of her reign, after a glorious victory over the forces of Crimson Changelings. For those who don't know, Changelings are a race of something? I think there are aliens in the show, but I'm not sure. Their whole gimmick is that they are capable of changing their appearance to those of other ponies. They're often referred as a common threat, and if I'm not wrong, they first appeared in a special episode or in a movie. My lack of knowledge in this show should prove that I'm not a brownie, right? Right? Saving Equestria from what would otherwise be in a massacre. Apple then says that since she won, it should be no problem at all. Asking why did they hesitate at first if that's the case. Doctor tries to play dumb, asking if he did, but Applejack confronts him, asking if they're hiding something. They made it seem like Equestria isn't peaceful at all, but according to that story, the war is already over. But before Apple gets to continue, something with the, how do I call this place they are in? A machine? Ship? Something in this thing seems off. That whatever this thing is at the middle is starting to get weird, and no one seems to know what's happening. Not even the Doctor. He even thinks that Pinkie touched the control panel without his permission, but she denies. She says that she was just looking for a perfect present for Twilight, as she pulls up a giant gift from her hair. The Doctor says that what she really did was to open a wormhole to a pocket dimension inside TARDIS, which happens to overload TARDIS if someone does that. How? I'm not even gonna make questions that don't have an answer. As everyone gets in panic, except Pinkie, we see that they're falling to the ground, and when they finally reach it, we see that Rose is the first to leave, calling this the worst ride ever. The rest of the group follows, as Pinkie is asking Rose if she and Dr. Who's have fun adventures like this all the time, to which she responds that it's not usually like this. Doctor mentions that it seems like they are in the right time period, but he doesn't know where. Rainbow Dash offers to take a quick look from upwards, as Fluttershy comments on how red the sky is, guessing it's getting pretty late. Doctor says that it's still midday. Apple even questions if he's sure about it, because it looks like the sun is setting to her. Doctor then explains that in this era, the day and night cycle doesn't exist anymore. There's only dusk and darkness. He's not sure why, but the power of Empress Twilight is weakened during this time period. Applejack then directs her words for Rainbow Dash on the sky, asking if she found a way to go. Dash says that she found a way, but she doesn't know how to explain this. She says it as we are presented with a sight of what I suppose it's a shadow of a castle on the background, finalizing the first chapter of this comic. Where am I? Oh no.
Hey dude, I was checking your channel and...
Yeah?
Captain's gonna laugh his ass off.
We began this comic right when we stopped last time. If you don't know or don't remember where we stopped, I strongly suggest you to go check my channel for the previous video on this series. We see the main six, alongside with Hooves and Roseluck, walking on what seems to be a pillaged Ponyville. Harry wonders on what could have possibly been happened to it to look like that, and Fluttershy comments that she's scared, not believing that Ponyville would end like this. Applejack even says that she's worried about Sweet Apple Ocrays, and asks to Hooves if he said that the war was over. We also have Rainbow Dash casually being racist. I didn't know how to comment on that honestly. Doctor explains that what they are seeing is the aftermath of the war that started 7 years ago. After Canterlot has fallen, the refugees have gathered at Ponyville, residing in the slum they are now. We also have those propaganda posters on the ground saying that changelings are among them. This, ladies and gentlemen, is world building. We have fascists in My Little Pony spreading anti-refugees ideology on a fan fiction of a show about magical horses. Where in the world can you say that you've heard such a sentence before? Tell me. Harry is shocked upon hearing that Canterlot has fallen, and Pinky suggests that if Ponyville is supposed to have a lot of refugees, then why is everything so silent? Where is everyone? Oh, excuse me, where is every pony? Fluttershy theorizes about it being nap time. After all, those ponies can't just have disappeared, as we see someone lurking in the shadows. The silhouette stumbles on a tiny rock, which makes Fluttershy aware of her presence. Notice how we don't have an indication of noise on this panel. This makes me thinking that Fluttershy's hearing is just supersonic at this point. The shadowy figure then flees the instant it gets caught, and Hooves says to them that she looks suspicious and probably knows something, so they should follow her. A chase begins with Rainbow Dash following the figure from the sky, guiding the others. Applejack says that they're losing her and asks if Pinky has any ideas. Pinky confirms and flees to put it in practice. She appears right in front of the figure with her party cannon, surprising the target and blasting it right on her face, which sent her flying. Who's there to complete the task is Rainbow Dash, and Applejack praising Pinky for the nice catch. Applejack then says that it is time to see who's trying so hard to flee from them, and as they move her coat aside, Pinky comments that it's just an ordinary pony. But Applejack says that this doesn't matter. She wants to know why she flew when she saw them, and also wants to ask what happened to this place. But she soon notices that Doctor and everybody else is not there, and Dash just says that they must have been way behind them, and they could really use some exercise. Suddenly, they start to hear bongs from a bell. Applejack even questions if there's a bell tower nearby. The stranger starts to get aroused and struggles to escape, but Applejack tells her to calm down, wondering what has gotten into her. The stranger then yells, saying that they need to hide immediately, or else they're all going to die. We are then shown the meanwhile of that, with Fluttershy saying that she can see them with all those roofs blocking the way, and blaming herself for getting distracted. Harry tranquilizes her, saying that it's not her fault, they're simply faster than them. Roseluck says that this place looks more like Pony Maze than Ponyville, and asks Doctor for what they should do now. He says that they would have more luck if Dash searched for them. They should look for a more exposed place and wait for her. Soon enough, they start to hear those same bongs as well. Rose even asks what that sound could be, to which Doctor responds, saying that he thinks it's coming from a bell tower, although he isn't really sure if it's used to tell the time. As he turns around to check on his watch, Roseluck questions if the sound means that those things will appear. We then get to see both situations with metallic-like creatures surrounding them, as the stranger says that it's too late. Fluttershy asks if they are timber wolves. Doctor then explains that although they're similar, those are actually iron wolves, branches of Empress Twilight, after a long research on the core of timber wolves, calling them some sort of golems, and commenting on how they look hungry. Harry starts to panic, asking what they should do, and Roseluck asks for any ideas from the doctor, to which he responds, saying that in situations like this, there's only one option: run, as he leaves their girls behind. Not gonna lie, I would do the same. Soon enough, they are start to follow Doctor on running as well. We cut directly at the fight between the Iron Wolves and Applejack's group. Speaking of, she almost got mauled by one of them. She then says that she guesses they are... I didn't understand that line whatsoever. You guess they are what? Mind elaborating that? Anyways, she then goes onto the Iron Wolf and gives him a strong kick. But that's useless, since they're pretty solid. Then comes Dash with a high-speed flying kick coming from the upside she misses. We then see Rainbow wondering on how a giant piece of metal can move so fast, and Pinky suggests that they should try holding them first and then striking all of them at once. The stranger makes her part of holding them, as she summons some kind of magical wind to gather the Iron Wolves in the same place. And as Dash gets up again to try another strike, she says to keep them still. We see her preparing and then launching herself to another strike at the speed of a Mach something that, oh dear god, that might have hurt. The stranger gets amazed at seeing a sonic rainbow, and as Dash brags about the victory, Pinky praises her, calling her by her name. The stranger recognizes the name Rainbow Dash and makes a correlation with the other two, recognizing Pinkie Pie and Applejack as well. They hear about it. Applejack then asks if they know about them, and Pinky questions if they're going to be famous for centuries. Dash brags about her already knowing that she would never be forgotten, since her coolness will last more than 1,000 years. The surgeon then says that yes, she knows. Everybody does. Oh, sorry, every pony does. They hear about them from stories of the Emperor's Twilight since they're fillies. But how? Something we are never gonna know. For the bunk sounds begins again. The stranger rapidly says that they should go to a safe house first. They can talk there, since it's not safe on the outside. Dash even asks about their friends, since they're very far from there. But Applejack says that they are with the doctor, so they should be fine, as they start to run again. Speaking of them, by the way, how are they doing? Answering this question right now, we see Fluttershy carrying Roseluck to the top of the castle walls where the Iron Wolves can't reach. Everyone seems exhausted. Oh, excuse me. Every pony seems exhausted. And as Fluttershy questions if they lost them, Harriet says that she hopes so, as Doctor comments that he doesn't think they can pass through the castle walls. Roseluck questions on what are they going to do now, since they can't get back there. But Hooves says that that's the least of their problems for now. And when Roseluck questions it, we see a guard pointing a sword to her. In fact, we see all the group getting arrested, with Fluttershy crying to a guard saying that he's tying her up too tight, and Harriet asking what do they think they're doing. And as we see a side of the castle, then now we can see that its structure is what it used to be, the library where Twilight used to live during the show. We end this second chapter.
Sorry, I have no idea of a skit to make today. We start this chapter by revealing a hatch in the middle of some ruins. We see that Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, and the strange pony going down some stairs. Applejack's asking why any pony want to live underground when there are plenty of houses up there. Pinkie Pie reiterates, saying that ponies need at least 3 hours of sunlight every day to be bright-eyed and ponytail. And the strange pony says that they had no choice, since this is the only way they had to hide from the Empress Twilight's minions. Pinkie asks what she meant by minions, and the strange pony clarifies comparing to the ones they just fought. Applejack says that those are worse than an orchard of rotten apples on Bucking Day, whatever that even means. The strange pony comes to a door, knocking on it, and being received by a code question. She answers it correctly, calling her Night Sky and saying that she thinks she found the keys they've been looking for. Night Sky asks to wait a second, while opening the door and asking if Lily is sure if they are the ponies, as said ponies think to themselves how tall she is. Lily, huh? Finally a name. Well, at least I guess it finally is a name. I don't remember if the last chapter showed us her name. Lily says to not jump into conclusions just yet, for they need to be verified by him. Who's him? You see it right away. Night Sky tells them to wait inside, as she goes to call him. Applejack comments on how big the place is, as Lily says that this is where her and her friends live. It wasn't as big as this before, but they got tired of Empress Twilight's tyranny. And they also have Rainbow Dash being dumb. I'm not gonna elaborate on that. Speaking of Rainbow Dash, she's surprised that Twilight is really a tyrant, as Pinkie expresses that she doesn't believe in such a thing. They come into a door, and as Lily quicks it open, she invites the rest of the main three to enter as well. Lily mentions that they haven't introduced each other yet. Oh good, that shows that I'm not actually suffering from dementia. They haven't said her name in the last chapter. She presents herself as Good Lily. She's the second one in command of the Resistance, and the Empress X-Star pupil. Pinkie Pie asks about who's the first one in command, and right away a voice from behind comes along asking if they are the keys Lily was talking about. Just to her to turn around and find herself being tarred by a giant dragon that is obviously not obvious who it is. Lily confirms that she found them walking around the refugees village during an event called Reconnaissance. I think that I spelled that right. And the big dragon says that they do look similar, but he needs something to verify. He proceeds to use some green fire that summons something. I wonder which character does that in MLP. Rainbow Dash even comments on how the flame is familiar, and Applejack confirms, saying that it looks like Spike's fire breath. What? What do you mean by that? This guy's obviously different. He proceeds to gas them with some stinky gas, which make the main three suffocate. Well, at least two of them, because Pinkie Pie seems to not mind it at all, and asks if Spike doesn't recognize them. Huh? But that's obviously not okay. Enough of this. I overused this joke already. Apple and Rainbow get surprised by Pinkie's affirmation, and Apple even asks if she's insinuating that macho dragon is Spike. Upon hearing this, Spike confirms once and for all that those are really who they are. Pinkie confirms that they are... well, they. And Rainbow Dash comments on how much did Spike change, saying how big he is and something that we're never gonna know, because he goes immediately to a group hug with them, saying how much he missed them. This goes on for a while, and then we are thrown into some time later, as they are all sitting around the table, with Spike saying that this is strange. They came out of nowhere and look younger than the last time he saw them, asking how did they do it. Pinkie explains that they used a time machine, with the intention of surprising Twilight on her 1000th birthday, as Apple completes, saying that it didn't work out as planned. Spike understands it well, saying that it would be a great party for them if they came 10 years ago. He also asks about the others, mentioning if they were too busy to make it. Rainbow Dash then points out that they did came out together, but just got separated when they were chasing Gold Lily, realizing that they completely forgot about them. Spike says how bad it is, since it's been an hour since the alarm went off, so they can be in some serious danger, as he calls for Night Sky, giving her the commands to send two of the elite squad in order to rescue the remaining keys, alongside with any survivors who are with them. And as she goes away, Spike assures the rest of the team, saying that he is sending their most skilled veterans that will certainly find them. Pinkie comments on how that's a relief, and changes the subject to point that she has a ton of questions for Spike, as he responds asking what does she want to know. Pinkie yells, saying that she wants to know absolutely everything about what's going on. Why do they all hate Twilight? How come Spike is in charge of it? And as she's about to make the last question, Spike holds her hand, or whose rather, and she then stares at him like she's about to cry, asking why does he keep calling them keys instead of friends, commenting that it seems like they are nothing but his tools. And Spike begins to explain by saying that it is a long story. Yeah, no doubt on that. We then cut to the other core of characters, whose and crew are being scooted in the middle of Ponyville in chains, and people, or ponies in that case, are looking at it and wondering what is all that, asking who are they, as someone comments on guessing that they're part of the resistance, and another pony questions what are they doing there, and wishing that they just disappear. First off, what the actual frick is that cutie mark, man? Come on. I mean, seriously, what is that, a minus sign? Girl, try having an identity before talking shit about others. One of the guards screams at someone inside the castle, saying that they apprehended a group of rebels trying to infiltrate the castle and demanding them to open the gate. Later, the same pony says that they'll regret a lot for their stupidity. Now inside, the group's being put into a cell, and after that, guard says that if they try anything, he'll kill them
He left. Now we have a brief dialogue between the group. Harity is saying that the place they are in is awful and filthy, like they don't have any other issues to worry about. Roselak asks Hooves if there's a way to get out of there, but he responds saying that the walls are made of pure and different kinds of crystals. He will need to change the resonance frequency of the sonic screwdriver in order to break it. I don't know half about the thing he's talking about, by the way. Rose asks how long it would take to do that, and Hooves responds saying that it would take long enough to get caught by the guard, pretty much crushing this plan. But he's confident that they won't kill them either way, and when Rose asks how he can be so sure, he just says to her to pay close attention, and calls for the guard. When the guard comes near him to ask what he wants, Hughes asks him to tell to the Empress that he has found the keys of prophecy. Passing that on is sure to get him a swift promotion. As the guard is asking if he means something that we're never gonna know, he notices both Harity and Fluttershy's cutie marks. He then proceeds to tell them to wait there, for he needs to see the Empress and flees in a hurry. As Roselak asks why did he run so fast and what did Doctor say to him, he responds by saying that he just said the magic words that will lead them to outside that prison. Words related to 6 words given to Twilight a very long time ago.
When Twilight became the ruler of Equestria on behalf of Princess Celestial and Princess Luna, a wise sage who was said to have come from across the ocean, claimed to have a prophecy regarding Twilight. Every pony watched with trepidation because this sage was famous for her prophecies. Both good and bad always came true. She approached Twilight slowly, and what she said next changed everything.
And those 6 words were
Twilight
will not outlive her
friends.
Twilight will not outlive her friends, finishing yet another chapter of this comic. You know, perhaps I've been too harsh on this. The show is not even that bad. Oh, come on! The ponies are shocked by this affirmation, questioning who is the pony that prophesized that, but Spike explains that no one knows who it was. Only that they have a peach fur, and has a historic of all their prophecies being true. At the time, at least in this timeline, all of them tried to come up with a plan to avoid Twilight's death, but couldn't come with any ideas. But however, the prophecy never came to pass. Even when the last one of them drew their last breath, Twilight lived on, but she was a different pony since then. Became a flawless empress, but also a merciless iron mare with cold heart. But she just snapped to the point where she is now about 7 years ago, when she came back from the Crimson Changeling War. The war was over, but the damage was massive. The empress became paranoid of Crimson Changelings infiltrating their society, so she promoted a hunt against anyone accused of being one to throw them in jail. But so many ponies were taken away that it came to a point that they started to get executed without any hesitation. Alright, so now we have dictatorship, war, and plenty of spy activities after war, probably a case of PTSD from war, political propaganda against a group, active pursuit of a group, and I think that there will be more until the end of the series. Mind you, this is inspired by a kid's show about magical horses. It really puts you to think how one can even come with such adult and complex themes basing themselves on an innocent media made for kids aged 6 to 13. Getting to the guys in prison, Harity comments on how the prophecy shouldn't be valid at that point, since they all died long ago, and Hooves explains that yes, the prophecy was invalid, but since they are there now, the conversation is cut short by the guard returning, saying that the Empress wishes to see them. Cutting to Spike, he says that as Twilight became a tyrant, the prophecy was forgotten, but now that they are there, the pony is linked to her death right in the middle of a rebellion, and now everyone is counting on them to somehow kill the Empress. Pinky is desolated by the fact that they need them to kill Twilight, but it's the truth they have to face. She denies doing such thing to one of her friends, and Applejack even tries to say that, damn, she bought into the idea quite quickly. But Pinky dismisses it, saying that the idea is horrible, and they are basing themselves on a prophecy that no one knows if it's true or not, not even considering to find another alternative. But Lily jumps into the conversation saying that they thought of other plans, waited for her to get reasonable again, but in return, they got holy shit!
shit! Alright, 3 more things to add up to the list. Conspiracy against government, political assassination, genocide. At this point I feel like I'm reading the criminal records of Israel. Spike shuts her down while Rainbow and Apple comment on how she has a point, and that they need to stop the Empress at any cost, leaving Pinky in shambles as she runs out of debt. Apple goes to talk to her, and as Spike comments on how she reacted worse than he expected, Rainbow just says that this is expected, since she just wanted to throw a birthday party for Twilight. I suppose it's just a character development saying that Gold Lily lost her sister for Twilight, but soon enough the other pony that I forgot the name of returns with some news from the searching party. They found nothing, so it's assumed that they were taken by the Empress, and that makes things way more complicated, for her will never let them leave the castle. Speaking of the castle, the ponies and there are finally presented to the Empress, and one can only imagine what being face to face with Adolf Hitler's pony Sona here would feel like. The Empress finds herself amazed by the sight of her friends in their young years, asking herself if this was part of the prophet's prediction all along. She even comments on how the last time she saw Harity she was an ugly old mule, but now she appears to her as a beautiful young man. Fluttershy asks if this is really Twilight, which the Empress confirms, as she demands her guards to release them, apologizing for how they have been treated. The Empress soon enough calls for 2 maidens, asking them to get the ponies to her spa, and then to the dining room right after. And as they go to their way, the Empress says before leaving that this only applies to the Pegasus and the Unicorn. The other 2 must get back to their cell. That being Dr. Hooves and Rose Luck, by the way. But as soon as they are being surrounded by the guards, Fluttershy jumps in, telling for them to wait, and asking if they could come with them, for they are the ones that reunite them with each other. The Empress is impressed by such statement, reversing her orders to bring them alongside with her friends, saying that they have way too much to discuss, as she walks away. And in here, bullshit! That was barely 3 pages long of script. Consider yourselves lucky, my viewers, we are getting 2 chapters straight. Time skip to after the spa treatment is done, the ponies find themselves talking about their new vest and how good the experience was. And soon enough, the Empress shows up telling everyone to have a sit, for she told her chef to prepare his very best dishes for them. As the food is brought, and the mood couldn't be worse, the Empress notices, asking what is the reason for everyone to seem so down. And Harity tells about the rumors they have been heard before coming there, something amongst the lines of her going postal and slaughtering ponies for no reason. The Empress obviously says that this is a lie, and she is doing her very best to govern her pathetic idiot, huh? Very good ruler, see. The Crimson Changelings are hiding in Equestria and are a threat to her people, but she doesn't have a clear way of annihilating them, and in a situation like that, her hands are tied. I know she said who's cause it's in universe, but give me a break. Fluttershy even asks about the innocent ponies who died because of this, but she just says that the needs of many outweighs the needs of the few. Yeah, I feel. Yeah, right. She talks about how they saw the difference between out there and in here, and proclaims creating order to protect ponies from the Crimson Changelings. But there are some who don't appreciate her work, and are actively trying to dispose of her, by fulfilling the prophecy about her, saying that the Resistance will want to gather all of them and end their lives in order to end her own. And that's why they should stay with her, not only for her protection, but for all Equestria. Harity even says how they came there only to celebrate her 1000th birthday, but she seems to want them there forever, and the Empress doesn't deny it. Fluttershy and Harity tells her that they came from the past, and if they stay there, her past self will be lonely. After a Twitter-level scarecrow argument, Harity insists once more, but the Empress declines it, saying that the moment they leave, her own life will forfeit. And how are you so sure about it again? She even tries to guilt trip Fluttershy into staying. Holy shit! Harity says that that's enough, questioning what even happened to her to change so much. The Empress even asks what she means by that. What is so different from her to the past? And who steps out to answer it? Perhaps it has something to do with the fact that she never served drug food for her friends, living leaving everyone in shock, which she says that they would have been better if they just have eaten it. Summoning one of our meta wolves, I think this is their names, I forgot, and installing the Gales in the dining room. Harity asks the Empress if she wants to kill them, but the Empress denies it, saying that she could die too if she did that, and she can't risk it, but she will put them in eternal stasis. They won't die, just gonna be frozen forever. That'll make them much easier to manage. Fluttershy even tries to cry for some sympathy, but the Empress is ruthless and says that times change. She also tells her to stop with all that sentimentality of hers, calling it disgusting. And Fluttershy, enraged, get up to throw hands at the Empress. Like this would work. She just brushes it off, asking for her guards if they brought the besties with them. She's not sure about Apple and Pinkie, but Rainbow Dash must be there, since she received a report of a sonic rainbow. Harity tries to babble something, but it's immediately cut by the Empress demanding the guards to take the ones they already have in the underground preservation room, as well as sending the Iron Wolves. I was almost right on my guess back then, to track and retrieve the rest of the keys, for they must be still alive out there. After getting everyone in neck cuffs? I mean, those are even cuffs? Anyway, after getting everyone in cuffs, the Empress sentences Fluttershy for injuring her face, telling the wolf to cut her. Wrong pronoun, it was the guard behind them that received the sentence. The Empress still says that a soldier who can't even follow a simple order must be punished, saying that this only happened because of Fluttershy, leaving the entire room in shock and making Fluttershy faint. While we see this image of Fluttershy on the ground, we can see quite a few things. Harity getting panicked to reach Fluttershy as the Empress orders her soldiers to move them, and who's asking what is the method that she will be using to preserve them, as the Empress says that they will find out soon. Ending here this chapter.
Do you remember where we stopped? Pinkie was running away from a conversation about killing Twilight, even getting a gag that we could certainly get in the original show too. She sits by a lake, telling herself that they shouldn't have gotten there. And we got what? Already? That introduction with Pinkie was like 2 pages long, and we are already cutting to the other core of characters. Okay then. Fluttershy is waking up after passing upon seeing a guard getting slayed. Happened in the previous part. Go check it. She's confused by what happened to the group, while she was unconscious, but Hooves explains what happened right away. They are in a preservation chamber, made for ponies waiting their turn to get in a life regulator. Some sort of thing that somehow provides enough nutrients to keep whatever is inside alive. That's why Hooves was so against this trip, but it would need to happen sooner or later, to put an end on Twilight's reign, just as the prophecy said. Damn, I can't wait to finish the series and make an entire compilation of the chapters. That will sound like a whole ass movie plot. He and Roseluck talk about how drastically Twilight changed from their time to this future, which only makes sense since it's been 980 years. No one would stay the same. They get scared by some pony asking if they are the keys of the prophecy, which Hooves confirms, asking how do they know. She presents herself as Firestorm, a member of the resistance sent to rescue them, ended up getting caught in the process. Hooves says he's sorry, but he wasn't referring to Firestorm's capturing. He says that if those cocoons are what he really thinks they are, then their hideout has been found for a long time. Getting back, we get to see Applejack looking for Pinkie and finding her alone and crying at the same lake she stopped. There's not much to be done there except to let her cry out, and after doing so, she says how this wasn't the future she was waiting for, and how she wouldn't have come if she knew all that. Applejack wonders on how things got so wrong, but that question is cut short, for Pinkie is starting to sense that something bad is about to happen to them, running to the command room. Upon arriving there, Spikes welcomes both of Pinkie and Applejack, just for Applejack to tell about the Pinkie sense indicating that something's about to happen there. As everyone is getting up and ready to whatever the Pinkie sense is detecting, she tracks the threat coming from Nightstar, warning everyone to stay away from her. As they do, the pony that I forgot the name, but I suppose it's Lily, and wonders why are they avoiding Nightstar. Just for Spike to say that Pinkie's sense is nothing to play with, and she starts to say on how that doesn't make any sense, just they preferring the opinion of a pony they just met instead of a trusting pony that they have known and been working with since the very start. all while Night Stars following right behind her into this monster right here. Don't ask me what are you looking at, I don't know that either. It's been a long while since the last time I watched any episodes of My Little Pony. I honestly need to catch up. Can't really blame her, think about it. A person from 1000 years from the past is entering the room with a bad feeling and immediately telling people to avoid the only black person in the room. With that analogy in mind, would you act different from Lily? Ending here with this bullshit. 2 pages of content is not enough. Let's make another chapter on a row again, shall we? We get back to the other side and my personal favorite of the main group, with Firestorm saying that they need to go and save the Resistance, which Hooves agree. But first, he needs to validate a theory he had. A guard sees them conspiring and when she was going to confront about it, she gets smacked right in the face. The guards up there hear the noise, and as they were going to check with another guard that I'm not gonna pretend it's not whose, they got smacked down once again. It wasn't really whose. Am I missing something here? Who is this? Regardless of that, Hooves is about to test a theory of his, using an apparatus to check if those beings are what he really think they are. And then he reveals that those ponies were actually something called Zygon ponies, which apparently are a concept taken from Doctor Who, and the things that they call Crimson Changelings at this future, even though they're not really crimson. They have a sack of poison under their tongues though, and that's important to say because right now we cut to a scene of Spike fighting for life against one of those Zygon ponies that is spitting acid on him. They fight a bit more and Spike ends up being the winner, because if he wasn't, then there would be no fun. Together with the Zygon pony that Spike defeated, he finds a metal thing with the symbol of the Empire and clear orders to take the prophecy keys from the Resistance. Back to Hooves, he's putting the pieces together. Twilight fought actually Zygon ponies, saying that they are Crimson Changelings. But since the place they are now is filled with cocoons with hosts for them to rely on the cast-on basement, then how many of them are outside pretending to be real ponies? The fact that this is happening only leads to one option. Twilight has succumbed to the Zygon way earlier than they supposed. Firestorm is shocked by that, but gets determined to get them to the Resistance in order to fulfill the prophecy. Fluttershy even tries to object against it, but Hooves cuts her down right there, saying that Twilight didn't hesitate a bit about getting them there. She was changed for the host. Damn, no, she has changed for the worst and chose the Zygon over their ponies. Harity also says how this is too cold, and Hooves just responds saying that there are many ponies suffering because of her, and at this very instant, and not acting will only cause more death. That until Roseluck intervenes, saying that Hooves is indeed being too pessimistic and acting in a bizarre way. So Hooves asks what does she has to say about it, and upon suggesting that that isn't the real Empress, he downs that possibility by just pointing that Zygon can't replicate an unicorn's magic to manipulate objects. So if she was a Zygon, he would know the moment he looked at her. I know he does not say that with those exact words, but I won't bother to write this word for word when I can just explain this in a lazier but equally understandable way. Rose still tries to find another thing to justify Twilight's behavior, but Hooves cuts her saying that everything is going according to the prophecy. The coincidence of the main six being there at the right time, how they could spot TARDIS, how TARDIS just left itself unlocked for them to enter. Everything was happening the way it was meant to be to fulfill the prophecy of the Emperor's fall. Hardy realizes that Hooves have known all the things that were going to happen in advance, asking why he would not stop them from going there. But he said that he tried, but upon hearing them saying that their friendship would not change, he just gave up on avoiding them to get into this adventure, to show them that all things change with the course of time. Roseluck even says questions if that could even be possible, since Twilight was supposed to be the princess of friendship. So this change of spectrum would be very sudden. I could make a joke, or even a reflection talking about how many times have your own personality changed in now your years living in this earth that are most certainly not 1000. But Hooves just did that in a way more dramatic way, saying how he saw everything, planets rising, thriving, life beginning, and the end of it all multiple times in multiple instances. So saying that things don't change is a lie, only to Roseluck to say that his name didn't change. She says that he told her the meaning behind his name, and asks if the promise of the word doctor has ever changed over the centuries. Some lore dump? Yeah, don't look at me, I have no idea what's that supposed to represent. But after that, he says that he will think this true, seeing every possibility of why the Empress Twilight has Zygon ponies working for her in her basement. And he sees that there's a giant cocoon standing out from the others, with some more details into it. And so, one of the captured employees says that this is a trophy of war, from when the Empress brought it home after winning, saying that this would have the Queen of the Crimson Changelings sealed on it, for she couldn't kill her in battle. Upon this, Hooves wonders the implications of having a Zygon Queen in there, saying that unpowerful Yalicorn wouldn't have much trouble defeating it, until he reaches a conclusion. When asked about it, he says that he has a theory that could explain everything, and if it's proven right, that would be quite a surprise. Fluttershy questions about what could be the surprise, but Hooves just says that he'll explain this later. For first, they need to find someone, for she would be the key to unravel this enigma, and he goes ahead leaving, while Roseluck asks who is he talking about, ending here these 2 chapters. Sorry, no skit today. That's the same joke 3 times already. Alright. Upon discovering that the war against the Crimson Changelings were merely a lie from the Empress, Spike is fulfilled with rage and calls for a charge against the palace. He turns to the main 6, asking if they're going to join them or stay there. Applejack comments on how this is not the Spike she knew, and Pinkie says that she'll go, just to see Twilight herself. Then she'll decide if she participates or not. Spike accepts those conditions and tells them to follow him. We then cut to Spike making an announcement to the entirety of the Resistance. He's saying that they have been waiting for the Empress to turn back to what she used to be. However, this hope has been long forgotten. Presenting the Zygon he just defeated, he says that this was there, working for the Empress, meaning that they have been lied to for over 7 years, since the Zygon are not in fact dead, but actually acting as agents for the Empire. This should end today, for they have the keys from the prophecy in their hands, although not all of them, since the rest was captured by the Empress, so they shall launch an attack to retrieve the rest of the keys and give an end to the Emperor's reign of terror, for they are equestrians. Epic discourse, truly. I didn't want to say this now because it would break the rhythm, but first, looking back, this is now getting quite fast, right? I don't know if I was blind to not notice first, but suddenly this sounds like a change of pace. But sure, whatever, let's just keep going. Also, Harley Quinn Pony is here. As the ponies are starting to get ready to leave, we get a glimpse of the Empress smiling and the other cast leaving the castle's basement. They leave at the rehabilitation center, and it's told that the ponies who opposed the Empress' tyranny were sent there, and then came back oddly supportive of the regime. Mystery solved, gang, let's skedaddle! Fluttershy checks the sky for a noise she was hearing, only to see the Empress marching to the outside of the castle walls. Firestorm says that they might be heading to the Resistance and asks for a plan from Hooves. He asks for a communication device, which she handles to Harity to tune into their frequency. Getting back to the other core of characters, Lily is explaining her plan to the main 3, until she gets a call from her end of the communication device. Finally, the 2 cores are somewhat together again, with each one passing the infos they have to another. Lily says for them to group together, but Hooves intervenes saying that this won't be necessary, and question if they slay all the keys would kill the Empress as well. Everyone is shocked upon hearing this, but he says that this was the option that the dragon was standing behind, and when questioned, Spike says that he wouldn't deny it. Lily then reveals that she was thinking about another solution, she just needed more time. But that's something they're running low now, since the army is going to them. Who says something about a pony who lost himself because of a hard decision that I'm not gonna get in detail about because it's probably something taken from Doctor Who, which I did not watch and have no interest in doing so. She then questions what she should do then, but Who says for them to bring the rest of their friends at the front of their rehab, and he'll tell them how to defeat the Empress without any sacrifices. So why did him explode the plan of killing the main six again? Did he just did that for the sake of nothing? Lily questions what if she doesn't, and who uses that opportunity to farm? Shit, why did I wrote this? This somehow convinces her, even with Spike saying that this could be a trap. She says that it's not. It's a test to see if she's courageous. What? How did you come to that conclusion? What line of thought you would come up with this? Spike lets her go as he will go to get a take on Twilight, and all the main six are now on the way to meet each other. While Spike calls another pony to pass as Lily for his plan, I suppose. When arriving, Lily and Doc finally talk about their plan, revealing about the cocoons of the Zygon at the basement of the castle. When all of the cast enters the basement, Lily is shocked by the sight. Pinky wants to crack the cocoons, but Hooves explained that this won't help. The only cocoon they need to break is the big one on the wall. Getting to the Spike core, we see him and a partner fighting another one of those iron wolves in a bloody battle against the Royal Army, until Twilight gets behind him wanting to give him back the guy pretending to be Lily. She scoffs them and say that the order is to KO as the rebels, but she'll let them live if they agree to her terms. He leans to hear that, and she just asks for Gold Lily for her. He questions what she would do to Lily until he realizes something that we're never gonna know. It's been a while since the last time I said this, because we immediately cut to the other core, with Lily discussing with Hooves the fact that there's this Zygon Queen inside the cocoon, until Hooves says that there's no Zygon Queen inside there, and when questioned about what is there then, he says that that's the Empress' strongest enemy. It's Twilight, okay? It's the real Twilight. I don't know why they're acting like we don't know this already. Lily says that this is locked by alicorn magic, so she can do much, but Hooves reveals that she is an alicorn. Is anyone surprised? We then jump straight to 20 years earlier, with the Empress finally coming home after a month being absent, bringing with her two fillies. Where's their mother? Matter of fact, who is this one? Oh, okay, they introduced the character for a single panel and then killed her. I mean, I can see where this is coming from in terms of showing how despicable she has become, but really? Why even do that? She says that the potential an alicorn holds is too much, so she should get rid of them early, having no care in the world if they are practically her daughters apparently. This makes Spike gets filled with rage, assuming a monstrous form. Getting back, we see the reactions of the main six to Lily being an alicorn. And when she asks on how Hooves knew this, he says that he hasn't visited the future before and saw her. Clever. But now, it's time for her to open the said cocoon, with a gag of them saying some catchphrase to open the thing, and just like that, we get to the aftermath of Spike and the Empress fight. Guess who won? And before Spike dies, he says that many more will still come to save Equestria, and as the Empress is about to shot the final blow on him, her magic fails, making her fall desperate. Turns out that the thing involving the entire cocoon was some sort of nest made to transfer magic to someone. That's how the Empress was able to use magic, and out of the cocoon emerges 1,000 the real Twilight, of course. We get to see some bystanders reacting to the destruction that just happened by that unleash, and immediately the main cast shows up pointing out all the changes that just happened with it, such as the sky finally getting a normal color. Twilight pulls up full of rage and we finally get to see the Emperor's real name, that being Brotonia. Very well pissed as well, saying that she won't let it end like this. She flies to encounter her, And after Twilight says some bullshit about being time for her to be defeated, Brutonia says that she's been prepared for a situation like this, as she cracks a ball of something that I have no idea of what it is, but it's said to be a magic and makes her very powerful, I guess. Twilight recognizes it being hers, but with something else mixed. But before she could come up with a thought, she's blasted mid-air by a beam that gets everyone around on the ground. And as Brutonia is bragging to herself, Twilight emerges from all the smoke charging at her at Mach 3. To land her a punch that is defended, as Brutonia says that Twilight is also different now. Keep in mind that I'm only narrating this fight because it's actually important, by the way. I mean, it's a final battle and certainly will have some plot going on while it's happening. In any case, you can skip to this time if nothing much interesting happens or if you just don't want to see me narrating that fight, like I'm some sort of UFC radio narrator. That said, this art goes hard as fuck, not gonna lie. The main cast is still in awe to what is happening, with everyone surprised by the fact that Brutonia has a magic storage device. Pinky asked, what about the elements of harmony to help Twilight? But Lily remembers that they returned them, or actually they just returned them to the Evertree Forest, just to be convenient to the story. Since they cannot use the power of the elements, Hooves comes up with a plan. Analyzing the transmitter, he sees that it's full despite being used a lot, so there might be another one hiding somewhere. They just need to cut the link in order to win the fight. But that doesn't add up, since the power must come from an alicorn. But both Lily and Twilight are... Oh, okay. Sorry, Kashibuka, I judged you too early. That other alicorn is important to the plot. Post-writing note. No, she's not. The mention of her was still as important as nothing. Lily notices and goes straight to the crater, with all the other cast following her. As for Twilight, she's flying and dodging the beams Brutonia fires at her, wondering why the device didn't change the amount of force being used yet, until she receives a call from Lily. She breaks the news to Twilight, telling her to buy time as they find where the power source coming from, as Brutonia seizes with rage, making a giant ball of pure energy to try finally hits Twilight as she fires at the general direction of the castle. And when it's about to hit, Twilight puts herself in front of it, taking all the damage. Of course, she's not dead, by the way. That would be too brutal. Brutonia goes to her, saying that at the point of contact, her magic connection got broken, and saying that she should have killed Lily when she got the chance. Twilight mumbles about her apprentice, but Brutonia just scoffs her, saying that she doesn't even have the strength to fight her anymore. But Twilight notices something and questions on what would happen if she converted her magic back and made it collide with Brutonia's. And as she answers, saying that would cause a massive explosion, Twilight does exactly that. Yeah. And again, what a sequence of panels. Holy shit, that looks beautiful. Oh yeah, the main cast is underground, and with the explosion it started to fall apart, but don't worry, just look at the cinema being told right in front of you. In the middle of the black screen, we get to see the narration telling about how the war was finally over, and how they managed to survive and see a new day rise. Spike and Lily are shown, with him congratulating her on her job to raise the sun, saying that Twilight was a complete mess when she first tried it, as we still being presented with the narration saying that the wound of the war will still be present, both physically and mentally. Can I call this gore? Does it qualify as gore? Anyway, sorry to interrupt that moment. Spike continues saying that the wound will heal over time, but as for him, he's not sure if he will be given such a chance, while arriving at the front of the main six altogether for the first time. Fluttershy says that he can't wander around until his wounds are fully healed, but he just asks if all of them are okay instead, which they confirm. I'm not gonna talk about the shipping. Spike says that she seems to be a bit less stable, as we are thrown to a few days ago when the fight took place, with him getting up blaming himself about not realizing that Twilight was a fake, until he sees the explosion, right when the main cast falls on top of him through a portal in the sky. Little gag or whatever, and we cut to Rainbow Dash finally getting some dialogue since... what? The very beginning of the series? Applejack is asking her if she's worried about Twilight, which she confirms, for it's been a day since she got dragged there and they haven't seen her. They were told not to enter, but she can't help but wonder what is happening there, until the doors finally open. Hooves comes out of the room, bringing the bad news. He did his best, but her condition is critical, and if it stays like that, she won't won't resist. But from the inside, Twilight says that they would misunderstand if he says it like that, and tell them to get in. As Pinkie Pie shows up, Twilight smells her and recognizes it, and Fluttershy asks directly if she's now blind, but upon hearing her voice, Twilight asks if everyone else is there too, which they confirm, saying that they were always together. Pinkie Pie goes straight up for a hug, while bailing her eyes out as Doctor and Spike watches. As we see Lily getting back inside, Twilight says that she'll die soon as she begins to fade in the air. Everyone in the room is shocked and denial to what they are seeing. Pinkie even pleads to her to not die, but Twilight consoles everyone, saying that time always reaches them. When she first heard the prophecy, she thought that she would die as the Princess of Friendship, but when they all died, she stopped counting on friendship. But now she knows that the prophecy meant that she would welcome her last moments with her friends as the Princess of Friendship, and she owes it to the Doctor. As for Spike and Lily, she can only thank them and say sorry. She apologizes for not being a good sister nor teacher and asks them to take good care of Equestria, finally fading away into the air. Peacefully, the screen fades to black as we are thrown into Twilight's POV of her waking up to a surprise birthday party with all her friends, and Roseluck is watching from outside, saying that she is the one who planned it. When she comes to Hooves reading a newspaper, she says that they're having a party as planned, wondering how come they seem to forget the entire adventure. There's some sci-fi thing to justify this, and Roseluck laments that good things can't really last forever. But Hooves says that that's the fun in it. If story is eternal, then how to describe it as good or evil? He also asks her on where she would like to go next, and she hesitates on answering. He suggests the mass migration of breezes, and as she goes to prepare to travel, Hooves stays outside, reflecting to himself, saying that they are time travelers. They can't stay in a moment, and one day their journey must end as it started. He was on that journey, but not anymore, for he is now seeing a lighthouse that shines on his way. The brilliant light that Twilight took on the end of her life as the Princess of Friendship, who's now also has a promise to the name of Doctor, and now will run without wondering whatever is at the end, as he says his final goodbyes, closing the door on TARDIS. Final illustration of the Empress Twilight now waking up at her afterlife with her friends, ending here this series. We start this at the zero ground at the Crystal Empire, with Spike arriving at the location that is said to be the place where Twilight stayed during her absence, with a dragoness that I have no idea who that is. We are then revealed that it's been 500 years since the happening of the main story, and Spike is there in order to investigate the origin of Gold Lily and her unimportant sister. He says that when he asked Twilight about their origin, she never told, and when Gold Lily herself asked about it, he had no answer, and that's why he took so long to start searching, as the dragoness just says that she's glad they're not in the wrong place again, and they should start searching the place. As they look, she finds a lab note and hands it to Spike to take a look. In that, Twilight writes about the objective of that journal. She was writing that in case of disappearance or extinction of alicorns, and she follows saying that since the death of the princesses Luna and Celestia, alongside of the settlement of the Crystal Empire, she has waited for any competent pony to become an alicorn, but that never happened. So she took drastic measures and decided to create one, using the essence of both Celestia and Luna that remained, even though they deteriorated over their time, forcing her to use her own essence to correct its flaws. Spike and the other dragon lady wonder if Twilight turned Lily and her sister in alicorns there, but there's only one way to say it, and it is by reading it. As the next entrance follows the 19th day of her search, she says that it's been a series of failures. The fetuses have been dying within the first few days, for the amount of magic an alicorn fetus needs to survive was not being offered sufficiently enough, and rebuilding the incubators won't work. Morbid, I know. Following the journal, Twilight says that she found a solution at day 40. Turns out that an incubator wasn't good enough, but she found a perfect alternative, and it was with her all along. Oh, holy shit. Practically her daughters, my ass, they are her daughters. Spike is in awe on what he's seeing, commenting that Twilight couldn't give birth in just 3 months, but the Dragon Lady notices something on the ground, an acceleration spell made to shorten the time of the pregnancy from 1 year to 3 months. Their relation is basically teacher and student, mother and daughter, Rick and Morty, since God Lily and her important sister are the essence of Celestia and Luna mixed with Twilight as well. She says all that while holding a flask of something, to which Spike questions on what is that. As she answers that this is the remaining of Twilight's essence, Spike snatches it from the Lady Dragon so fast that it hurts her a bit. And with that, he immediately turns his objective to revive his friend with that, and he sets up flying, as the Lady Dragon tries to object that idea of his in vain. And as she watches him flying in the distance with all his hurry, she wonders on why he's doing it, if he knows that this is not the solution. Ending here this series. Not even gonna lie, I think that this should be a cliffhanger for a continuation, but the story is old enough without any updates to come to the conclusion that it got cancelled. Shame. That would be a kind of a great second season plot, to be honest.